Hello friends, The One was Elton John's 23rd studio album coming out in 1992, following on from Sleeping with the Past in 1989 and preceding Made in England in 1995. It was Elton John's comeback album. He'd been receiving treatment for various problems in his personal life. He'd come out of that and come through it, and this was his kind of first statement to the public. Recorded in Paris, the album was produced by Chris Thomas. It reached number 2 in the UK charts, pretty successful, and has this stylish cover which was designed by Versace. It offers us nearly an hour of music. Elton was back on the acoustic piano as well. A mixed reception for the album, all music giving it just 3 out of 5, so putting it kind of in mid-range for Elton. Now, there is one big issue which we need to discuss about this album. Now, this album has not only drumming, but drum programming on it from somebody called Ole Romo, who's worked with the Eurythmics. Now, not everybody was impressed with this. And in her book, His Song by Elizabeth Rosenthal, the author talks about Bernie Taupin being sort of surprised in a way by the drum programming and preferring the presence of real drummer throughout. So it is quite an obvious thing when you're listening through the album. The drumming is very heavy, it's quite monotonous, it's occasionally irritating, and it does detract sometimes from the quality of the songs. So we'll have a look at that as we go through, and you may want to comment below on what you think of the drumming on this album. The opening track is Simple Life, which was one of the 4 singles issued from The One. It was a hit in the United States and Canada. Now, it's a long track, this one, over 6 minutes. There is another version, a single mix, which is shorter and also faster. And I think I actually prefer that one. And I've loaded it onto my Elton John Rarities playlist. It's a rhythmic driving opening. Then we have this distinctive harmonica coming in. The song is all about yearning to break free from city life, the pressures of city life, and getting back to the simple life. Slightly picking up on those themes of Goodbye Yellow Brick Road as well. That was going from rural life into the city, and something like Country Comfort as well touches on this sort of thing. Some decent lyrics here from Bernie. I'm a year ahead of myself these days. All that pressure is closing in. So this is a decent opener. Elton's voice is sounding really good on it. It's maybe over long, as I say, but it's a comfortable music scape that's been created here. And I enjoy this one to start with. I'm going to rate it as good and give it 6 out of 10. Track number 2 is The One. This was the first single from the album. It's the title track. Elton has a personal connection to the lyrics here because it's all about finding your way back. It's all about redemption. In the lyric here, Bernie says, for each man in his time is Cain. That's Cain from the Bible, until he walks along the beach. So there's this idea of coming back from difficult times, and Elton certainly had been on that journey. We've got a space age opening here, an interesting chord to start on, which I could never work out at the keyboard until I bought this book, the little black songbook of Elton John, and it tells you what the chords are there. So it's an unusual opening that Elton gives it. There's an echo vocal on the verse. When he sings In the Instant, the beat really picks up. We then get into a majestic, impeccable refrain here. And when we get to You're All I've Ever Needed, You're the One, it's a really powerful part of that song. And that, of course, is the message that perhaps humanity and relationships, this is all we've ever needed, not those other things which might distract us. This is an excellent pop song. It's a very easy listen. It's inspiring, it's uplifting, great piece of work all around here, both on the lyric and the production. The only thing that detracts from it is the drumming, which is just overdone and could be further back in the mix. And I wouldn't be liking a bit more variety in that drumming. But despite that, it's a brilliant song, and I've got to give this one 9 out of 10. That's one of my highest marks. Track number 3 is Sweat It Out. Now, this is one of Bernie's strongest, most political lyrics. It's critical of people who don't seem to care about that world. It mentions she-devils ruling Britain. It mentions the banks. It mentions oil spills. the fact that there's no heroes around. And the message is, don't bow down, get the lead out, which might mean lead and a pencil in terms of writing protests. It might mean that we've all got to keep complaining and protesting in favour of things which we want to happen. So what do we get here? Well, it's perhaps not one of Elton's greatest lyrics, but it's an interesting song. And it's enriched by a wonderful piece of jazz improvisation by Elton partway through. One of Elton's finest piano solos in this, and it really lifts the whole song. Now, we do find the drumming here very annoying. It's just hard to listen to, this one. And a different production for this track would have made it even better, I think. A more stripped down version, I think, could have made this track even better than it is. Anyway, it's a bit overlong, but it's still an interesting track. I'm going to rate it as fairly good and give it 5 marks. Track number 4 was another single from the album Runaway Train. This reached number 31 in the UK. It's a duet with Eric Clapton and was used in the film Lethal Weapon 3, apparently, with music by Elton and Ollie Romo, who is the drummer. Elton plays the digital piano on this one. We've got, again, this train metaphor, isn't it? The relationships are like this train. Of course, we see that later on in the great song, This Train Won't Stop There Anymore. It's got a driving, pulsating rhythm. Enjoyable electronic organ and interplay between that organ and Clapton's unmistakable guitar. Decent lyric here, love is lost like a runaway train. In a way, it's a surprise that this wasn't more of a hit than it proved to be. I think it's a good song. I'm going to rate it 6. Track 5 is a rocker called Whitewash County. Now, more strong lyrics here because Bernie is attacking racism in the United States. He's attacking that kind of unreconstructed attitude of people refusing to change and accepting the way society is moving. It mentions white boys howling in the evening, and he talks big in Whitewash County. It's a theme that's been picked on before, especially in the song Texan Love Song, actually, from the Don't Shoot Me album. Try and compare those two, both giving this kind of anti-racism message. So well done for them for attacking that subject. So the lyric's not too obscure. We've got some nice grand piano from Elton in this one. Maybe the melody is not especially exciting. But it's still a decent listen, this one, with a good message. I'm going to rate it as a good track and give it 6 marks. Track number 6 is The North. Now, this is about a bitter man who seems to have been scarred by the northern skies. Not sure exactly what that refers to. Elizabeth Rosenthal in a book talks about Elton leaving the north of England for Los Angeles, but I'm not sure he was ever based in the north of England. He was from London. So it may be that it's a metaphor that the North could stand for addiction and that he's moving away from that to a much better place. So it's all about changing. It's certainly a well-intentioned song. I'm not sure it particularly hits home, this one. It's got some walk-down chords. You know, it's moving through those chords through the verse. A little bit predictable, bit of an echo on the voice. This one doesn't quite hit home for me, so I'm going to rate it as a below par one, this one, and give it 3 marks. Track number 7 is When a Woman Doesn't Want You. Another hard-hitting lyric here. This is Bernie sending a message to men that women aren't objects. He says, you can't be a man if you're blind to reason. It's not a bad tune, this one. Quite a pleasant melody on the refrain, and the lyrics are affecting. But is it anything special? I'm not sure. I just wrote down here, ruined by drumming. Again, it's very intrusive, the drumming on this one. And some of these songs, I'd like to hear them either remixed or re-recorded, because they're quite decent songs, but the production is just a bit unpleasant sometimes. So I'm going to say this is an average song and give it 4. Track number 8 is Emily. Now, this is another interesting one, this one. It's about an older woman who's in a graveyard talking to her relatives. And kind of it reflects that, soon she'll be joining her relatives in this kind of after-death state. So pretty serious message to reflect on here. And when I looked at the lyrics, I was kind of imagining a setting a bit like Talking Old Soldiers from Tumbleweed Connection, which is a great track, as we know. But in a slightly ironic way, we've got quite a cheerful, kind of jaunty tune for this one. It's quite a good tune, but maybe what I would question is how much does it actually reflect the lyrics. Of course, Elton's done this before and taking a serious lyric, like I Think I'm Going to Kill Myself, and giving it a kind of jaunty, ironic tune. So we can understand that happening. Whether it quite works here, I'm not sure. I might have preferred something a bit more like Talking Old Soldiers, that sort of melody. Anyway, a bit of an average song for me. I'm going to give this one 4. There are some huge topics being covered on this album, and track number 9 is On Dark Street, and this is about homelessness. This is about a family forced to live on the streets. There's kind of an uplifting feel to the whole song, a bit like Healing Hands, that sort of mood. Again, I'd raise the same question as the last track. Does the tune match the lyric? We've got things like all the layoffs and the pay cuts cripple me inside. Quite a dramatic lyric, quite a jaunty melody for it. Having said that, it's a good tune. It's got a driving rhythm, good momentum to the whole thing. So it's a pleasant listen. Maybe let me know what you think about the setting, whether it actually works there. I think this is a fairly good track. I'm going to give it 5 marks. Track number 10, Understanding Women, was a track they added from a separate recording session. This probably wasn't one of the one recording sessions. In this song, Bernie ponders the end of a relationship, possibly about being jilted. It's got a bit of a sort of cheesy synth rhythm to it. Interesting riff in the bass, I quite liked when I was listening to it. We've got Dave Gilmour from Pink Floyd contributing some guitars. It's good to have him on board. Slightly odd lyrics. I could drive to Mexico on Understanding Women. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe you've got some thoughts on that. It's okay, this one. It's, I'd say, fairly good, and we'll give it 5 marks. The final track is The Last Song. This was the 3rd single from the album. Now, Elton received the lyrics of this shortly after the death of Freddie Mercury, and the song, as you probably know, addresses the fact that somebody is suffering from AIDS, is near to death, and is reconciled with their father, kind of in this deathbed scene. It's very moving, and Bernie's been quoted as saying that he tried to thaw the intolerance of people not understanding. He tried to tackle homophobia sort of head on. Now, this has been kind of referred to a little bit in earlier songs, such as All the Nasties from Madman Across the Water. This is much more sort of overt, the relationship here, the sort of message here. And it's one of Bernie's finest lyrics. It's heartfelt, it's sensitive, and it's moving. Elton's given it a beautiful treatment. It's very simple. It's just Elton with a little bit of Guy Babylon on keyboards in the background. Elton keeps the melody simple. He plays at the start on the word yesterday. I don't really notice that. He gives it exactly the same notes as the Beatles song Yesterday, and then he takes it in a different direction. And I think that's intentional. It kind of draws us in and says, look, this is familiar, but now we're going in a different direction. It's a beautiful song. It's moving every time you listen to this. I wish more people knew about this song and its message. I very rarely give 10 marks out of 10. I've only given it about 3 times, I think, so far. But for me, this is a perfect track. I'm going to give it 10 marks. So what we have there is a total of 63 marks from the 11 tracks. That gives us an average of 5.73 marks per track. Let's see how that compares with the other Elton albums I reviewed. Well, nearly 400 tracks reviewed so far, and look at that song, The Last Song, coming in there. Only 4 others have received 10 marks from me. Come Down in Time, Skyline Pigeon, Goodbye Brick Road, and Your Song. There's another one there, the title track, The One, that's getting a 9. So 2 good showings from this album. We've got 3 tracks there getting my good mark, 6 out of 10, Simple Life, Runaway Train, and Whitewash County. And at the bottom of the league, there's only 1 track, and this is a bonus track, Fat Boys and Ugly Girls, which I'll talk about in a follow-up video. That got 2 out of 10 from me, but nothing else at all from The One. So let's now look at my league table of Elton John albums, and we can see the one coming in there, maybe surprisingly at number 9, ahead of Songs from the West Coast and just behind Honky Chateau. That's higher than I expected, but of course it had 2 tracks getting really high scores, a 9 and a 10. And down the bottom of the league there, that's still unaffected there. 29 albums reviewed so far. Jump Up and Victim of Love are the bottom 2. So what's your favourite track on here? Send me your ratings for each of the songs. Overall, I would say it's a pretty decent album. There's some good songs on it. Some criticisms of the production, but overall it's the kind of CD I would pick up and take in the car with me on a journey and enjoy a lot of these songs. And it was really great to see Elton back on form with this one after his various problems. So that's it for now. Subscribe if you want to. I'll be back with a follow-up video including your comments on the one. Don't forget, we're still standing.